districts. Okay, moving on from there, asking the right questions and measuring the relevant opinions. What exactly am I talking about? Here's just some general ideas. One, some elections that we do to raise revenue for especially a metro district, people may not even know the metro district provides their road, their water, their public safety needs, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll ask an awareness question just to make sure, are you familiar with this metro district and the services they provide? First and foremost, after going on from that, job approval and satisfaction levels, especially it's for the department or the need that is being met. Do you think this police department is doing a good job? Do you think this fire department is doing a good job? Do you think the school district is doing a good job educating students? Those approval levels and those measurements are very important, because if they're not great, you may not want to go there and ask for a revenue increase of some kind. It's really important. Those things are going to factor into a voter's decision making. Very important. Does the organization spend taxpayer money wisely? I'll get to that in a little bit. And then measuring general voter support and opposition for a tax increase, as well as support and opposition for the actual ballot measure language if we have it. So just moving on from there, here's an example first and foremost. How familiar are you, or would you say you are, with the Eagleville Metro District's amenities and the services they provide? This is just an example of making sure. This is a project that we did last year up in the Eagleville Metro District, where they had a very unique ballot measure that was basically going to freeze and sort of time out what they were paying to the Metro District in the form of mill levy property taxes. Obviously, this turned out pretty good. Nearly half the people are very familiar, know who they are, 46% somewhat familiar. Another example, Moffat County School District RE1. Do you approve or disapprove of the job they're doing educating students? 61% said yes, they approve. This again was a project from last year. That's a good number. You want to be around 60 or north of that. The Monument Police Department, do you approve or disapprove of the job they're doing? 86% said yes, they definitely are approved, which is a great number. Now, this is a very strong Republican community. I know some of you are like, why do you ask partisan questions? Well, look, the bottom line is, folks, is we need that party affiliation, because it really helps us understand where support's coming from, where opposition, and so forth. And you can see here, Republicans, 93%, they're very much supportive of their police department. Democrats are down at 71%. Still very strong, but yet there's more of a reservation there, as you can understand with public safety, reform the police, those sort of attitudes. Knowing these things are incredibly important. City of Lafayette, we did a public safety ballot measure for them. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? The City of Lafayette is fiscally responsible and spends taxpayer money wisely. 62%. That's a very good number. Some people obviously don't know, but the bottom line is, if you do not have your act together on this question, you may want to put out some information and educate and inform your folks how you are good stewards of taxpayer money. Here's an example of Moffat County School District RE1. Their numbers were a little bit lower, obviously, compared to Lafayette. Now, granted, asking for a city in a broad measure versus a school district, do you agree or disagree? Is the school district spending taxpayer money wisely? 45% agreed, 36% disagreed. Taking this into account, you do want to know, like, hey, we want to get these numbers up and improve them. It may be simply just educating and informing folks of how frugal and fiscally responsible you've been. But again, knowing this by voter subgroups, very important. Again, up in Moffat County, Craig, very Republican area, non-parents in GOP, which is, a large portion of the vote up there, only 41% agree with this statement. However, Democrats are very strong, if you will, in younger voters. These things matter. Step 2, general support for what you're asking for. Are people going to raise their taxes for issue X or problem X? And again, this is an example in Moffat County RE2. Generally speaking, would you support or oppose a property tax mill levy increase to fund necessary infrastructure repairs, maintenance, and capital projects for every school in the district? We didn't bring up the amount of the tax. We did not bring up how much it was going to cost them. I just want a general measurement, just for the general idea. Would you be willing to go there? 50% said they would, 40% they would not. That's what I mean by a general measurement. We did a project in the town of Vail, helping out them secure a dedicated funding source for affordable housing. Again, we're not bringing up what was a half-cent sales tax, but we're just simply asking, do you support, a undefined tax increase, to create a dedicated funding source for housing. 46% support, 45% oppose. 50-50, not very good, but at least we know where we are. This is where we're sort of starting out. And again, breaking it up and understanding that by voter subgroup. Okay, the uninformed ballot test question. This is very important. What am I talking about? After we go through those measurements, we then get to the details. I haven't said anything about the ballot measure. I haven't said anything about how the money is going to be spent. And this is an example of what we did in Moffat County School District RE1. And I'm just going to read this to you. One bond measure being considered by the school board would increase residential property taxes by 11.9 mils to fund $40 million of necessary infrastructure repairs, maintenance, and capital projects at several different schools in the district. And then we include the cost information. The mill levy increase would cost almost $14 a month or $170 a year on a home valued at $200,000. This is a paraphrased, uninformed ballot measurement. And what we're doing is we're giving them the cost details. We're giving them a general idea of how the money is going to be spent. Would you support or oppose this? 43% said they would approve. 50% said they would reject. Another example, Greater Eagle Fire Protection District. This is an example of what we read where we are showing the example of the exact, in all its ugliness, ballot language. And the reason we're doing this is because that's exactly what they're going to read when they open up their ballots. And this simply says, as you may know, there may be a question on the ballot this November regarding funding for the Greater Eagle Fire Protection District. I'm now going to read or show you the ballot language. After reading or hearing it, please tell me if you would vote yes and approve or vote no and reject. And so here's all of its ugliness. Shall Greater Eagle Fire Protection taxes be increased $220,000, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if we have ballot language, I want to test that. If we don't have that, we're going to want to paraphrase it. Because there's times, too, where we'll do the survey and that hasn't been crafted yet. And they're actually going to hold off on crafting that ballot language based on how our survey goes. Here's another example. So that Town of Vale ballot measure that we did for housing. Simply asking, if an election were being held today, would you vote yes and approve a half-cent sales tax increase to establish a funding source for housing initiatives, developments, and programs? As you can see, now that we tell them what the tax is, it's a sales tax. It would be a 0.5%. 52% said they would approve. 42%